Wake up, it's a new day.
Morning Blend Business.
The economy,
finance,
Business.
industry,
government sector, private sector,
Financial services.
tourism,
personal finance,
Investing advice.
consumer issues, consumer rights.
trends and business opportunities.
Morning Blend Business. Following Morning Blend every weekday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. right here on Guardian Radio 96.9.
This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
You have to be strong in today's world. Keep your focus and what you believe in, how to achieve all your dreams. Keep moving forward. Never accept less than who you are. Live your best life. Be strong and free. It's a hit back with the hash of black. It's a hit back with the hash of black. It's a hit back.
The Hits Back with Nahash Black is sponsored by the Cancer Treatment Centers of America and Burger King.
Good afternoon, Bahamas, and welcome to the Hit Back. I'm your host, Nahaja Black. It's a beautiful day here in the 242. Hope that you are doing well, taking care of yourself, and living your best life today. It's a new year, y'all. New year. Yeah, they say new rules, new ideas, but definitely it's a new year. It's a new year, and we got a lot to talk about today. Of course, one of the big things of this new year is that some things of the past are still rolling into the future, and COVID is still a friend or an uninvited guest in many of our lives. When we went on break, we were talking about it and asking everyone to be more careful, to be mindful, take care of yourself, your family, blah, blah, blah. And, listen, it is what it is. Omicron and gone and, became Thanos over the holiday season, doing the finger snap like Thanos, I've been saying. Just one snap of the finger. 1 minute you see folks, next minute, whole house in quarantine. Like, we just getting knocked down. But there's a silver lining on this. So I, I reached out to a friend now that I would say in Dr. Chetty in South Africa. And I did a brief interview with him earlier today. And so I'll share that with you during the show. There's also the conversation of should there be more restrictions going into this year, or going into this period with Omicron shooting out like, some sort of, just like a psycho right now. Omicron just everywhere. The question is there Delta even in the midst of us all? So it's just good to be back though. Happy New Year to everyone. Special thanks to all of my sponsors. Before I go even any further, I want to say a special thank you to all of my sponsors last year for the Christmas holiday. Let me see, who all can I remember? Because there's just so many of them. We had Hollis Cosmetics. We had, of course, Fidelity. We had Baja Retreat. Why the list so big? Dirties, Drifters, Comfort Suites. Can't forget Comfort Suites. Alive, BTC. We had Framed Eyewear. Who else did we have? We had so many people. Tab, Therapy, and the list goes on. Chez Monet, in terms of candles and soaps. Blah, blah. Oh, man, listen, we had so many guests. Special thanks to everybody. Happy New Year to everyone who's following online, on Facebook, on YouTube. Thank you so much to all of you listening in your car. This is the new year, y'all. The new year, 2022. I want to get your thoughts on what you hope it will be. this year, some of your plans. We got joining us also at the end of it. Some folks are asking, Nahaja, can you give me more information and details on the program, the raw 21 days raw, or the 57-day journey that we're doing with Shay King, and I'm really looking forward to it. Now, mind you, I told Shay, because I feel like we were croned, like Omid. My whole house was in lockdown. We all got the cold. I'm still trying to get over it, and a part of me thinks that we might have been touched by the Omi, right? By the way, does anyone else believe that Omicron is like the one nemesis that would bring, that one transformer nemesis that would bring, Megatron and Optimus Prime together to fight it? It feels like that's the type of name. Plus, we have found that there's a new variant in France. Anybody got time for all of that? We got stuff to talk about today, though. And so, we got a lot of stuff to hit up on and talk about. So I'm pretty excited about today's show. Now, let's have this conversation. So today I was noticing, over the holidays, we noticed on Christmas Day, 520 cases reported. I think it was day before yesterday or yesterday's report, 400 and some odd plus cases, right? So we know for sure that this is a lot. What we also are seeing is that the numbers are showing that it is not the same. It's not reflecting in hospital admissions the way we saw with Delta, which was that Delta was not just a variant of concern that it was contagious. That this one is by far, Omicron is by far more contagious. But however, Delta was more deadly in the way that it attacked our immune system. But Omicron is a different beast, eh? Omicron, I'm telling you, Optimus Prime and Megatron are come together to give us what we call Omicron, and we're going to fight this because Omicron is a different animal. However, numbers scare us, right? In this thing, in boxing, they talk about the tail of the tape, and you have Bruce Buffer in the middle of the ring, and in the left corner we have Delta. Delta is a virus that has put many in the hospital. It has caused the deaths of blah, blah, blah. It is a full body TKO, blah, 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 and has so many wins and so many losses. And in the blue corner, we have Omicron. It has 1,500 positives in 4 days, but it is not as deadly as Delta. Fight. Okay. That's in my mind. Sorry. This is just for the record. I am the last child, right? And why that matters is because I did a lot of talking to myself when I was younger. So this radio show just reveals how much I entertained myself as a child. But we digress. We digress. Anyways, so we've got this tail of the tape. We have every variant is showing itself, right? Every variant is showing itself. And this tail of the tape now leaves us with the two newest fighters. We have a victor, the one who is the most victorious and cunning and deadly, which is Delta, right? It is one that has not just when people caught it, but people caught it and we were terrified of our reaction to it. That's why Dr. Chetty's work is so powerful, because he speaks on the eighth day and how it is a hypersensitivity reaction. And so if we catch this thing at the point of the eighth day, when we start to change, we can treat it and folks not get into the hospital. That's why I really am a follower and I believe in the work that Dr. Shankara Chetty is doing in South Africa. And so Delta had its own sort of behavior, right? But we are now looking at Omicron. And Omicron comes, and the first thing we know is that it is more highly transmissible, right? It is more highly transmissible. It gets us all in where we all can catch it. I'm telling you, you can't tell me that my house hasn't been was an Omicron, right? And that is that's a whole other kettle of fish. Because, child, I'm still getting over my cough. But and this is us trying to be safe and masking up and social distancing and not staying in crowds, but it is what it is, you know. But now we're hearing, listen up, everyone. This is more contagious. 1,500 people in 4 days. People are panicking. People are concerned. People are starting to ask questions like, is this, you know, should we lock down? Should we go back into the way we've been doing business? The Prime Minister said in one of his addresses over the holiday weekend is that, listen, we're not going back into those levels of restrictions. We saw that the Minister of Tourism went ahead and turned away, and Ministry of Health went ahead and turned away a cruise ship to its own island because of positive cases. We know that cruise ships are getting more and more positive passengers. We know that the CDC has put out a warning in that area because of these levels of reinfection and infection. Persons who are vaccinated and unvaccinated are all getting it. And we know that, listen, the vaccines were never a cure, and we're not stopping people from getting reinfected. It is a fact. No need for calling it a conspiracy theory. It is what it is. So this now brings into the heightened levels of concern. So I read an article today with the leader of the opposition, Mr. Pintard, calling on the government. Oh, also, don't forget, Air Canada has canceled flights. In particular, confirm for me, someone confirm for me if they canceled it for all of the Bahamas. I think they did for Exuma. Well, that's one there. So we are seeing that the world is starting to lock down, clink, clink, right? But what we do know is that the WHO has said, listen, lockdowns are not good. It continues to spread the virus. It makes it worse. We saw that with Delta. The more we locked people down, the more, if one person was positive, the entire house gets sick, and we're starting to see family members fall away. So this number though, with this infection is anxiety ridden. And, you know, calling doctor friends when I was so concerned, wondering, hey, listen, you know, if we have it, I called my kid's pediatrician. If we have it, what should we be looking for with the kids? And my pediatrician's like, listen, my whole family in lockdown as well, right? Calling other doctor friends, they're in lockdown because they have been reinfected. So Omicron is in the community. But now we're being asked for that should there be more? Should the government be doing more? So the government has gone on, and the Ministry of Health restricted, I remember this so clearly, the night of the Christmas Day. I'm by my mom, Christmas Day. And we see a police car pass by, and I look at everybody, y'all vaccinated, not vaccinated, y'all got masks? Listen, I ain't going to jail today. And then the next morning, we get the announcement that groups of 30 or more, you know, there's no more, that they can't dollar wine with that. No groups of 30 or more. We've shut that all down. Well, it was a little bit late. That's what I said. That came after the holiday season. But Omicron is different. And so when you do the tail of the tape between the two viruses, they are different. They behave differently. So you have a different tactic of a fight. You have a different tactic and approach, right? And so then I find myself torn, okay? And when I say torn, not based on data, but knowing that this is a conversation that is nuanced, right? It is nuanced in that I asked a question, you know, reading Mr. Pintard's article, and I agreed with him on some notes, on some points. And one is, should we be doing more? And I have to ask this question. I asked my husband this question. Is your work requiring you to go back to the office? And is that wise that we should be going back to the office? Should we close down offices for a short period of time? Because that's normally what we do. We try to limit the spread. But ladies and gentlemen, here is why it's nuanced, right? Why it is nuanced. Israel has done something very interesting. Israel, and I read something called the Jerusalem Post. I find them I love that one, Jerusalem Post. And their position is, listen, we've been through this a lot. We've got people that take 4 shots. Omicron is the best thing that's happened to us, right? Omicron is the best thing that's happened to us, in essence, because this virus is milder, Because it is milder, it will help to wash out or help to get rid of or make us more immune, give us a better sense of natural immunity, whereas the vaccines have failed to do so. The vaccines have failed to give us that level of natural immunity. Plus, we are a country, take it from us and in that viewpoint, we're a country where health officials still haven't explained or did not explain to us why our numbers were going down so strongly when it came to Delta, right? Someone says Israel is on their 6th booster. Why Delta was going down and we were not at 40% vaccinated. So we could not contribute it to vaccinations because we know that there were cities with 80%, countries like Israel with 80% vaccination rates, and Delta was climbing. But what was the difference? With 717 deaths, we can surely say that somehow we all may have been impacted by COVID-19 in this country. And therefore, we have a certain level of natural immunity, right? Now, what would Omicron be in terms of helping us get through this process? So if it's milder, and by all accounts, based on what we've been reading and learning from other entities across the world, CDC, WHO, different countries, it is milder, different scientists and researchers, it is a milder form of COVID-19, even though it is far more infectious. So if it is milder, would it benefit us all? Not all of us, because people still will react differently. So it is still risky, right? But it is a benefit that we find ourselves exposed to this. Because I'll tell you, if I did have Omicron, if I had Omi, it was definitely milder than the first version I had. And I think that that's something to learn about it, right? It would be far milder for me, not for you. And plus, I'm vaccinated. So these are all measures and matrices that, or metrics, sorry, that's the word, metrics by which we should measure this by. Because people are different. Then there are persons who are already susceptible. And that group that is already susceptible to poor health and eating habits, what do we do with them? We can't risk them necessarily getting COVID-19. But it's the whole process is very much one where it's a nuanced conversation. Should we close down? Should we put more restrictions? Or should we let this virus in some way take its course? The health officials should come up with that answer for us. But at this point, are the measures good enough? And that's what I want to find out from many, because I think that's why this is an important conversation. Is it nuanced? Is it one where you feel more comfortable with not lockdowns, but perhaps we should stop in-person work? Maybe we should stop the office gatherings so that Omicron isn't like wildfire. Or perhaps we should continue as we are in hopes that this thing runs through us as it is a milder form, and we get back to business and we build up a better level of immunity. And so those are the questions I walk away with. But anyways, when we come back, I'll have Dr. Shankara Chetty join in on this conversation with me. We'll take a quick question, a quick break. And when we come back, let's hear from Dr. Shankara Chetty. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM. We'll be back right after this.
Prostate cancer. My family didn't know if I was going to live. At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, within days, I got an appointment. They presented me with treatment options, and they set up a robotic prostatectomy. When my scans came back, there are no signs of cancer. They don't see you as a number; they see you as a part of the family. I'm going on with my life. That's a real gift.
Call us at Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
The new Guardian Radio app is here. Listen live to all our Guardian Radio shows and live video stream select programs in our studio. Get information about Guardian Radio shows and our hosts. Send messages, including text, email, and even call. All from our amazing new Guardian Radio app. Download it free today in your App Store for your Apple device or Play Store for your Android device. The all new and improved Guardian Radio app.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
It's the hit back with the hash of black. It's the hit back with the hash of black. It's the hit back with the hash of black. It's the hit back with the hash of black.
And we're back. Here is this interview I did today with Dr. Chetty. I want to get your thoughts on it. Here we go. All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Hit Back. I've got a special guest, of course, joining us on the show. Again, a very special guest of the show. Always grateful for his time and for his knowledge, his expertise, for what he has been doing on the front line of this thing. And coincidentally, for being just at the right place at the right time doing the work of the Lord, I tell you. Dr. Shankara Chetty, who's joining us again all the way from South Africa. Good evening for you, Dr. Chetty. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks, Naja. How are you there? You're at midday there.
Yeah. Midday here, so we're good. The country is in. I think I don't know if it's crisis mode, but we're definitely at a level of infections, Dr. Chetty, that we've never seen before. And the reason why I'm cautious if I should say crisis, unlike the Delta, Omicron seems to be working a bit differently, but it is very contagious. And you, Dr. Chetty, were the first person I thought of on a day like today, which is my first day back at work for this holiday season. And wanting to chat with you because, of course, not only are you my foremost expert, and I think one of the leading experts on COVID and the amount of patients that you've treated, but you're also in the country that was the first to identify Omicron. But we do believe that it was already all about, but South Africa was the first to be named the country that identified Omicron, the variant. And so I believe that you have some great expertise and experience with dealing with this virus, or this variant. So I want to ask you, coming out of the gate, Doc, what is your thought on Omicron, the variant?
Nahaja, Omicron as a variant, look, it was first seen in Botswana and then identified here in South Africa. There's a lot of mutations with the Omicron variant on the spike protein area of the virus itself. That changes the spike protein almost completely. That brings a whole different set of rules into play, and we must be cautious with that. But from what we're seeing with the cases that we're having, they are very mild, illness-wise. They present with different symptoms. The symptoms tend to be very transient. Patients seem to recover completely, and we're not experiencing the same level of hospitalizations or mortality that we've seen previously. Mm-hmm. So Omicron is a far milder variant than we were used to.
Yeah. And when you say, I think that's interesting and good or bad. I don't know what to say about it, right? Yes, we are very excited that it's milder. It is definitely more contagious. But because it's more contagious, should we be more concerned with hospitalizations? Now, one of the interesting facts here with us, in the past 4 days, 1,500 cases, we have seen a slight uptick in hospitalizations compared to what we were seeing. I mean, just yesterday, we recorded 417 positive cases. On Christmas Day, we recorded 520 positive cases. And so subsequently, we've been adding to those numbers. But we're seeing that, the hospitalizations are upticking slowly, right? But there's nowhere near as drastic as Delta, where we were at one point in the 200s. But I want to ask this question. Should we still be in a sense of red alert? Because if it's more contagious, the math means that the volume will still increase, though. I mean, even if we have, it's a milder disease, based on the sheer volume of persons who would get it, that we should anticipate more hospitalization? Should there be a certain level of caution for us in the healthcare sector when we talk about Omicron?
Yes, there's many different ways to look at this, Naja. Omicron is a far more contagious variant, but it causes far milder illness. Now, this is the natural way that viruses evolve in a pandemic. A dead host is of no benefit to a virus. So viruses tend to evolve away from severe illness, but increase in their ability or improve in their ability to spread, so more contagious. Now, in that, the hospitalizations are a factor of severity of illness. So for a certain subset of patients, we would expect there to be fewer hospitalizations. But that's also related to the contagiousness of the variant itself. So a far more contagious variant will drive far more cases more quickly. And that will result in more hospitalizations. But remember, that's taking into consideration the mildness of the variant. So yes, we might end up with hospital systems being, I wouldn't say overwhelmed, but stretched. But remember as well, when you deal with a milder infection, the length of hospital stay is a lot shorter. The ability to get patients to full recovery is shorter. So your hospital system will be worked to a strain, but I don't think that this variant is going to overwhelm any hospital systems like the previous variants did in some places.
Yeah, and
so I don't think that we can negate a contagious variant from overwhelming hospital or health care by trying to lock down and prevent it spreading. The more contagious it is, the less effective your isolation measures will be, irrespective.
Mm-hmm.
And so...
No, and actually that's great because, of course... Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
We're going to have to allow this to run its course, but do it cautiously. This is going to come down to individual measures of risk mitigation, not general public health measures. So each individual person has to limit their contact to slow down the spread. So social distancing, limiting gatherings, making sure you're not in contact with people that are unwell. When you become unwell, make sure you're isolating from those around you. So this is about social responsibility then rather than any mandating of any public health measures.
Yeah, no, and I'm happy that you said that because it segues into this next thought. So we have here, and I'm so happy if you're just tuning in, Dr. Shankara Chetty joining us live from South Africa today. What is interesting now, of course, is that same question of what do we mandate? What do we change? And you mentioned social responsibility with the virus so contagious. Schools are not opening right now because of how contagious Omicron is. And you're seeing that around the world where schools are being, they're delaying the opening of it. And there has been calls from others in the political sphere of saying, hey, we need to do a bit more. I wonder your thoughts on, should we limit office gatherings right now? Should that be something where we limit it? Or should we do what Israel seems to be doing? Where Israel seems to be excited for Omicron in a way. And excited is not the appropriate word, but they seem a bit more optimistic that Omicron, because it is milder and more contagious, may help to create a better sense of natural immunity. Do you believe that that is a stance that we should be taking with Omicron to help us get out of this pandemic? How do you view it?
I think we got two subsets of population to consider when we do that. And that would also direct us in different countries, depending on the vaccination statuses of the population in those countries. What I'm seeing here in South Africa, Naja, it seems to be a variant that evolved out of trying to evade vaccine immunity. So 70% of the patients that I'm seeing at this point in time are fully vaccinated. They've had 2 doses of Pfizer and some 3, and still have developed Omicron. Now, I can't comment on the severity of illness and whether the vaccine actually has an ability to decrease that severity of illness, because I don't see that kind of pattern with these patients. So there's also questions about whether vaccinated patients, when faced with such infection, because remember, a vaccine is supposed to prevent you getting the infection in the first place. Mm-hmm. Now, if you get an infection in spite of having a vaccination, the concern is, do you develop a robust natural immune response to that infection, like an unvaccinated patient would? Because your immunity has been distracted by a non-neutralizing vaccine. And so you won't have the full immune response during natural infection. So in saying so, vaccinated patients might find themselves at higher risk of reinfection in the future, in that they haven't developed the full natural response to an infection because of their vaccine being ineffective and distracting their immunity. Whereas in unvaccinated people, they will have a milder illness like Omicron does give you. You will develop a wide, robust natural response to that. And so you will be left with a broad natural immunity to it. So Omicron is very similar to what I'd call a live attenuated vaccine. Early on in the pandemic, I was called upon to give my view on what an ideal vaccine would be. And an ideal vaccine would be to take the mildest variant of coronavirus, use that as a candidate for what we'd call a live attenuated vaccine. So a live vaccine that's self-spreading, but attenuated, meaning it wouldn't cause severe illness. So everyone would get a mild dose of COVID illness. They would recover from that and be left with a robust immune response. Now, Omicron does that for us. It gives us a mild infection, we recover from it, and we have a robust natural response. So for all intents and purposes, Omicron is a very good live attenuated vaccine for the time being, just being cautious about the kind of response it would stimulate in vaccinated people. So in those that are vaccinated, I hope we haven't shot ourselves in the foot. We're getting a gift here, and we might not have the ability to take full advantage of it because of what's transpired prior in our rush to influence the immunity of the planet without understanding the immunity of the illness.
Yeah. And, something on that with regard to the virus, to the vaccine, one of the things that has been said now by vaccine makers is that, it was never meant to stop one from catching COVID. And that's why, I find it fascinating. That's why when you and I had that discussion earlier, we call it a treatment, because it can't be a vaccine if it doesn't stop you from contracting the thing that it is been created to do.
Yeah, the immunity that Omicron gives you will be broad and diverse. And so if it spreads fast through the community, it will give us the herd immunity that we actually require. Mm-hmm. So this can be a godsend in that it will signal the coming to an end of a pandemic. We might have one more wave that really seeds in the endemicity of this pandemic. It turns to become endemic. And so the only reason we would recognize that it's still around is if we keep indiscriminately, unnecessarily testing people. And then we'd say, oh, well, we still got corona around, but nobody's dying from it, so who cares? So I don't know why the testing.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think we need to be very cautious about fear mongering and getting people all hyped up about the number of cases that are coming. I think as well, when you're dealing with the milder variant, there will be a larger disparity between cases and sick people or sick individuals. So we should now stop counting cases. It gives us unrealistic data. We should be counting people that are actually unwell with Omicron, not just every person that tests positive for Omicron. Here in South Africa, there was initially a scare that there's a lot of hospitalized patients with Omicron.
Mm-hmm.
But when that was looked at more closely, it was found that 80% of those patients in hospital with Omicron were diagnosed with Omicron in hospital coincidentally. They were there for other reasons, and by virtue of the testing in hospital, found that they had Omicron. So this is a swimming pool you ain't going to find the pee in. I don't think we ain't going to be able to be isolating and finding a safer area in this pool, seeing that Omicron is so contagious. So I think we need to just bite the bullet, do our best. Remember as well, the more contagious a variant, the sharper the rise in cases, the sharper the fall in cases, and the narrower the wave. So I would say Omicron would, from start to end, last 4 to 6 weeks, and it would be done.
And burn it. So is that where we would say it burns itself out in terms of a natural immunity?
It burns itself out with natural immunity, but because of its sheer contagious nature, will spread through a population in that time.
Yeah. You know, it's so interesting. Sorry, finish that thought. My apologies.
Yeah. So we don't need to. We're not in for a long haul. It means that we need to knuckle down. We need to take care of the sick individuals that we find. We shouldn't be wasting our time on unnecessarily testing. You ain't going to find all the contacts. You ain't going to isolate all those contacts. Your isolation measures are going to prove to be far less effective than they've ever been, because they haven't really proven any benefit now. And with the more contagious variant, that's going to be even worse. So we need to focus on early treatment. We need to make sure we remove the strain from the hospitals. And in 4 to 6 weeks' time, we'll be over with this Omicron wave. And that would hold your population in good stead of developing a robust herd immunity. And that would negate a lot of the next waves that are to come. So Omicron is a godsend.
Let me ask you this. If you're just tuning in, Dr. Shankara Chetty joining us on the show from South Africa. In terms of the treatment that you've done, has the treatment for Omicron differed versus what you've done with Delta or that you've done with Alpha? Has it changed, or the South African variant? Is there any difference?
There has been some changes, Nahaja. And look, the 8th day still remains the same with hypersensitivity on that day. I am seeing far fewer cases of hypersensitivity and far milder reactions. That is a good and a bad thing. It's good in the way that we don't have the hospitalizations and critical illness. But of course, a mild worsening on the 8th day is very easy to just ignore. And that I expect we will see patients, far more patients, with mild long COVID symptoms because of ignoring that 8th day worsening. So I think patients need to be educated about reporting symptoms on the 8th day so that they don't spend time with mild long-term illness unnecessarily. So yes, we're seeing that trend. The other trend that we're seeing is the presentation, and we're seeing a lot of presentations with headaches and fatigue. The upper respiratory symptoms tend to be absent with Omicron. Patients tend to have a sore throat on the first day, but that tends to resolve very quickly within a day. And then they're left with an overwhelming sense of fatigue and a headache.
Let me ask you something, Dr. Chetty, and I don't mean to interrupt. I know, of course, time is running out on us. You keep mentioning long COVID. And I want to get from you, because that's an interesting conversation there when we're talking about something milder that could possibly, right? And we've also talked about with Delta and long COVID. What is long COVID, and what are the symptoms of long COVID?
Naja, long COVID can have a wide range of symptoms. Long COVID is basically a moderate allergic reaction on the 8th day that has gone undetected and untreated, and so it's prolonged. You got three types of reactions on the 8th day: mild, moderate, or severe, like from a bee sting. A mild reaction is what we call transient and self-limiting. A moderate reaction is more severe, but long-term and not critical and not life-threatening. And a severe reaction is life-threatening and can be fatal. Mm-hmm. So transient illness resolves on its own. Moderate illness is long-lasting, that's long COVID. You haven't been treated. Severe illness is an ICU if you haven't been treated appropriately.
Mm-hmm. And so with the long COVID, what sort of symptoms would we, and when we talk about symptoms, can someone go through the process of recovery of COVID and have what they call long COVID? Is it something just as a side effect of untreated?
It is, I would call it, any long COVID would be inappropriately treated acute COVID. In the first wave, I caught every patient early. I treated every patient early on. I treated them to completion, and I had not a single case of long COVID, simply because you stopped the reaction. If you do not stop the reaction appropriately, then it slowly becomes a self-perpetuating cycle of allergy, and that results in long
COVID. Dr. Chetty, I think the final things that we want to know as we're heading into this is what you mentioned earlier. How do we prepare ourselves, not prepare ourselves, but navigate this? And in South Africa, I want to ask you, how are you guys navigating it? How is Omicron affecting you in your work and your practice?
Look, we're far busier than we used to. I got to get through 60 or 70 patients a day myself, but they are mild. There isn't all the rush that we had in the first and second waves with the more severe variants that we had. Patients are far easier to monitor during this wave. So yes, we are very busy, but we've relaxed the isolation measures in South Africa. We've relaxed the quarantine measures. There's no point doing all that. We're allowing gatherings, but we're asking patients or people to have the gatherings outdoors. Be a little bit more responsible when you have those gatherings. Now, Omicron is going to run its course through our population. We started with a relatively high herd immunity. South Africa had about, I think, a 70% of population that was already exposed to this virus. So Omicron, by virtue of the change in spike protein, is expected to evade immunity. So I am seeing a few unvaccinated patients getting Omicron. I'm seeing a few unvaccinated patients who've had COVID before getting Omicron. Those are very mild cases. It's like a software update to your immune program more than anything else. So if you get Omicron as a reinfection, there's nothing to fret about. It's not that you were reinfected and you had no immunity. It was just an upgrade to your immunity. But the majority of cases that I'm seeing with Omicron are fully vaccinated cases. So yes, Omicron is going to work its way through our population. I don't think there's anything to fear about it. It does herald an end to this pandemic. It's going to give you an immune response and a relatively robust natural immune response, which can only be beneficial. I would put my head on the block to say that the immune response to Omicron will far outstrip any immune response to any of the current vaccines. So in the greater scheme of things, this is better than any vaccine that we've made thus far. And once again, nature's upstaged man in its ability to protect its people.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chetty. Please stay safe, and I appreciate the time as always.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Naja.
All right. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Dr. Shankara Chetty. We'll be back. Well, okay. So as you know, like I said, I recorded that earlier, had an interview with Dr. Chetty earlier today. And that was the interview that I had with Dr. Chetty. And, so it was definitely one that was very filled with a lot of information there. And so I want your thoughts on it. What was your thoughts on the information shared? What was interesting to me was his position of the vaccine kind of affecting our immune system, our natural ability to fight viruses. We do, though, have to be mindful of the fact, right, that, listen, it also may have saved a lot of lives, So some of us who may have gotten it, we know that perhaps, listen, it kept us out of the hospital. It would have been far worse. There was, I don't know if you guys remember the story of the doctor who everyone else in his house except for his son was vaccinated, and his son was the only one that was healthy. I think they may have lost his son-in-law, but it was definitely one that was very much concerning. And now he's a proponent of the vaccine, seeing that his son, who was vaccinated from university, was doing well. Even Dr. Lockhart says that that if her husband was vaccinated, that perhaps he would be here today. So you cannot outrightly, and by no means would I ever believe that we have to say or can say that the vaccine doesn't save lives. It does save lives. And I think it's good that you have it so that you could prove if it does or it doesn't, but you're risky. It's like going out here and just having indiscriminate, sexual relations without protection. And you could just say, hey, listen, I'm immune to HIV and AIDS, but boo, what if you don't? What if you aren't? You might just get it, So there is safety in it. And so it is not one where we can say that it is not a tool in the arsenal. It is one of those weapons that you use in the fight against COVID-19. Even with us, after being infected with COVID, we got vaccinated. And it was just an extra precaution, knowing full well now that I'll be doubly, my immune system will be better off because of it. And I had that natural immunity. And luckily for us, there was no health ramifications. But my close family members whom I had to call the ambulance for, they weren't as lucky as my family was without being vaccinated, right? Or taking the shot. So their immune system, they were in the hospital for 10, one for 10 and the other one almost 21 days. So, and this was before the crazy Delta wave where there was no hospital stay, where there's no room in the inn and people were dying at home. So, and they didn't have Delta. They had the UK variant. Imagine Delta. So what I'm saying is also be mindful of that this is one of those things where we say all of the tools necessary in this fight is important. However, there are still those questions of when we do look at those of the vaccines, we're seeing the efficacy drop down to very low rates. And now we're on 4th boosters and 5th boosters. Look, man, unless the Fox Foundation give me an extra $5,000 to get boosted, I don't know. And with the Omicron variant, I think that the Omicron variant is a milder one that may be very helpful. But I'm saying all of that, I'm saying all of that for sure, knowing that I got certain levels of protection and not knowing actually if the vaccine itself is already, the efficacy is already gone. I'm basing a lot of my hope on the natural vaccination that I have, the natural, immunity that I have. And why are we doing antigen testing, antibody tests? Wouldn't antibody tests be helpful in this wave too? That folks can say, all right, listen, your antibodies are good. You don't need a vaccine. You don't need another shot. Let's let nature take its course. Antibody tests, anyone? We're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to get your thoughts on it, though. Should there be more restrictions, going into this new year? How do you feel the government is doing and handling this situation? That's where I'm at. I think, do you think that they need to do more? Right? Is their stance good enough? Do you feel as if the direction, you feel direction from this government in how we're handling COVID-19? We'll be back. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM. We'll be back after this.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
Good afternoon. I'm Tashina Robinson, and here's what's topping the news at this hour. More than 130 healthcare workers between New Providence and Grand Bahama are out of commission. They're in quarantine following exposure to COVID-19. 100 are from the capital, and the remainder hail from the nation's second city, according to Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Michael Darville. And some students returned to a virtual classroom today, but there's still no word on whether they will return to face-to-face instructions by the end of the month. Minister of State for Education Zane Lightbourne says the ministry is examining the feasibility of allowing public school students outside New Providence to return to in-person learning. He says the government is reluctant to take unnecessary risks. The government patting itself on the back for what it called a smooth rollout in the rollback of value-added tax. The rate was reduced from 12 to 10% effective January 1st. Economic Affairs Minister Michael Halkitis says 3 days in, and there's not been any bumps in the road. NASA's virtual Junkanoo is set to receive a second run. After the $300,000 production was heavily criticized on social media and elsewhere, Minister of Youth, Sports, and Culture Mario Boleg said it's going to be edited and rebroadcasted. He said the production team ran into challenges when a number of persons involved in the project contracted COVID. That's a look at some of the stories we're working on at this hour. I'm Tashina Robinson. Stay tuned. AP News is up next.
Biden and the virus. I'm Tim McGuire with an AP News Minute. The CDC says in just over a month, the Omicron variant has become the dominant cause of coronavirus infections in this country, some 95% of the cases. At the end of November, the Delta variant caused more than 99% of the infections. President Biden says the 35 million unvaccinated adults, the ones most threatened by the variant, have no excuse.
This continues to be a pandemic of the unvaccinated. So we got to make more progress.
Infections have reached staggering levels over the past weeks in the world and in the U.S. Health officials in this country note that hospital admissions are up 63% over the previous week, but still far short of the peak of 16,500 a day a year ago. Deaths have been stable over the past 2 weeks, with an average of about 1,200 per day, well below the all-time daily average high of 3,400 last January. I'm Tim McGuire.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
It's the hit back with Natasha Black.
And we're back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Natasha Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. We are live. Today is the first day back for me for the new year. Special thanks to Hubert Edwards, who was so great in holding down the fort for me last week while I took some much needed days, a week off. I need, when anybody else back to work and you needed 2 more weeks? I feel like I needed 2 more weeks, but no, you can't have 2 more weeks, Haji, because now you got all kind of stuff to talk about. By the way, as we discussed, what should be the government's stance or their decision on are they doing enough? Because that's what I woke up with this morning. Are we doing enough? And I walk away with it's nuanced based on what response you want, right? What response we want to get. And the response you want to get is, is it comfort? Do we get more comfort because of the fear of the numbers versus looking at the result, right? And what other studies are saying, hey, well, listen, let this thing sort of run its course. It's milder. It may help in ending this pandemic to a certain degree. And that's what I want to hear from our healthcare professionals. What is their health reasoning behind it, right? And, you know, I, like others, I do trust Dr. Forbes. I do believe that she has some good ideas and plans there or thinking on this. But I think that we also need to look at it from all avenues and really get a holistic approach at this as we chart the way forward, customizing it for a country like ours. Because I think, you know, listen, let's just keep it real. I look at the fact that we were coming down, Delta's numbers were coming down, and our vaccination numbers were nowhere near the place for herd immunity, as it would suggest, meaning that there was natural immunity, right? A natural event of natural immunity based on the amount of infections in country. And with that in mind, then we should be doing something like antibody testing. What are we saying? That would give us a better idea of what happened in that country, what transpired. If we do a group of 300 people in each constituency, it'll give us a good idea of, all right, across this constituency, this community, we're seeing that of the 300 people, 129 have the antibodies for COVID. When we questioned them if they had COVID or tested positive or thought they had COVID, we found that 230 of them said that they felt like they had COVID in the past 6 months or year. What would that data do for us, right? It would give us a better idea truly of community spread. And I would assume that it's cheaper than COVID tests, but we digress. Anyways, that sort of data would help us too, because now we're continuing on with the pushing of the vaccine, which is fine as a tool, as a treatment option. But is it the victor? Is it the thing that is stemming the tide? Is it the thing that is saving our lives? Is it, or is it not? That's real. I think that's, for me, that's just, you know, that's how I think we solve a lot of problems. Someone says you always want the numbers because just as it is high, you want to know and celebrate when it is low. Exactly. So we have to know these things. For me, it is important to me, and I think it's important to us to determine what is the decisions that we make. Now, the government stance is we're not doing any more restrictions. We're not doing any more restrictions in terms of lockdowns, the end of the night, or what do you call that thing? Curfews. They're not in that mood. And the question we were asking, even when they were going on, is what is the data on it? Now, we had gotten to a certain place in Delta where I said, listen, people are dying. Y'all need to do something to flatten the curve. This was one of my reasons why I said the former prime minister had to go, because people were dying at an alarming pace last summer. And we weren't doing anything but watching it balloon and just, I mean, crazy what we were encountering. And the lack of humanity with lives and people dying at home in their car. It was just ridiculous. It was just ridiculous. But at that point, we needed to do something because we had totally lost control because of lack of leadership. Yeah, okay. We needed to retell the story. Everybody was there for the tale. And for those who lost loved ones, you know the tale quite well. Now we're here. Schools are not opening face-to-face. Who didn't see that coming? We barely could have opened when there were no issues. We all saw it coming. Once Christmas Day numbers came, whoop, there it is. Schools were going to close. We're just back and default into that position. Now the data with kids and testing. Look, if we couldn't have carnival, you sure as heck know they don't want you to have school. Because the argument for carnival was that children who are not vaccinated, we don't want this to affect them. I agree, understand, fine, but move on. You knew that there would be no school. Okay, so then are we okay? Is the Ministry of Health then saying to some degree they believe the science or the information going out that Omicron being milder then might be best that we, let it run its course to a certain extent? Not like when people doing with this, forced natural immunity, where we were doing this with Delta and crazy countries were trying to, it ended up backfiring in Sweden and all over the world, but people were just falling ill. But is that what is being agreed upon quietly, right? And so then fine, if that's the case, I think we should know this. And so we can stop being asked or stop asking these questions of should we have more protocols? Now, something Mr. Pintard said that I totally agree with, 159 million%. we have these events, right? We have these events that happen, and we see the crowds, but we don't penalize the event holders. If you see a crowd, Julian Believe got, and I think he won his case, I think, if memory serves me, but he was charged some crazy money. I think like $100,000 for a party he threw. That was the last time we heard of any event or organizer who's seeing their event lose its mind get charged. We see club owners who have exorbitant amount of people, far more before there was even these restrictions of 30, less than 30 people and so forth and so on. We saw far more persons, hundreds and hundreds packed up in small places, and there was no fines for the event owners and organizers and promoters. We need to start at the root of the tutor. So deal with that. That's something that should be seen. We used to find the coconut vendor on the side of the road out in the air. We used to find the coconut boy, but can't find people who are making money off of large crowds that are not good for society right now. Why is this important? I go back to the main thing. Let's make the main thing the main thing. All of your personal freedom means nothing if you broke, because you're free to be poor any day. But if we won't be free, let's be free responsibly so we can have business as usual. That's all I'm saying. I tell, don't be free and broke. Free and make sure you can work. Now, here comes another topic of consideration. We go back to hotels and regular citizens. I thought it was funny. I'm trying to remember the line. I heard it on the news last week. I thought it was interesting, where they were talking about, Bahamians need to, separate, socially distance in your workplace. And somehow, I can't remember the line, but it was just so ironic because I asked myself the question. It was about something in work and Bahamians at work. And there was some sort of like precautionary measure. But then I asked myself the question, but aren't Bahamians at work in the hotel? And we go back to this, because I've said it before. We go back to this. The frontline workers are hotel workers too. Let's just keep it real. The frontline workers are hotel workers too. The good thing about Omicron, ladies and gentlemen, is that it's milder. The bad thing is, once you get it, you still got to go home. Once you get it, you still got to go home. Are you paid for the days you're out? Is NIB covering your sick days? Does it work? I'm not sure they are. And when you go home, you're going home to your family. And now we're quarantining in place in a space that hasn't changed since the pandemic started. So this is where the complexities of this thing keeps going on and on. The hotels want to have and be in an island unto themselves. And we have to look at them and say, oh, well, you're a commerce center. We need the hotels open for payday. And I remember hotel staff saying to me, Nahaja, listen, I can't handle being broke. I can handle being sick. Right now, let me get a chance to go to work. So what do? This is where these complexities come in. Do we want the hotel to run? And the former administration decided that was the way to go. We saw MPs up inside the lounge, cabinet ministers up in the lounge. Once you got in, you was in a different zip code. So it is fascinating. Someone says Bahamians are paying for fake negative tests to fly. I've heard of the fake tests. I've heard of all of the challenges coming in country. Embassies are inundated with these concerns, right? So we have to be very sober-minded with this whole conversation of COVID-19. Omicron, the best news about Omicron, in my opinion, is that it is milder. That's the best news about Omicron. But I don't know. I think we have all of these different spaces. Someone says, I got some text messages here. The Who, you mean the rock band who sang We Don't Get Fooled Again? How timely of you to bring that up. So is the Delta variant gone? No, Delta variant is not gone. Okay, I believe we calling people smart and giving people kudos for them doing nothing more than just promoting whatever the CDC says. Last week, they tell us the new guidance from the CDC is 5-day quarantine. And they talking of this science that shows after 5 days, you're only 25% contagious. Well, guess what? Today, the report is the CDC reconsidering the guidance from last week. They sound like we thinking to you? No. For the record, the thing that happened with the CDC last week, when they started talking about quarantine, that was purely business. Y'all gotta know when big money interests are showing up to take advantage. Big money interests, companies like Apple, like Amazon, very much are complaining about quarantine lengths. Big companies like Charles Schwab, banks who are sending people over and having to be forced quarantine, they were complaining about the length of time in which quarantine has to happen and the amount of money that they spend to, have their staff quarantined. So that was a complaint that led to CDC making that ridiculous announcement. Because if after 5 days you don't have any symptoms, not tested positive, you can go out, wear your mask, right? But you might still have COVID because there are a lot of people who are asymptomatic. But what are we talking? Someone says they're giving the government an F. They have lucky the Omicron variant wasn't as deadly as they left the Bahamas wide open. Agreed. If the Omicron variant was as deadly as Delta, this government would be dead in the water right now. And let me take that term back because it was insensitive, because of all of the lives that we've lost, but they would definitely be up a Bleeps Creek. Had it not been for the vaccine and some persons taking it, we would have had more deaths and a worse situation. No more lockdowns needed, just personal responsibilities. Someone says the schools need to open. The protocols there just need to be improved and COVID police detailed there. We need to get back to school. Yeah, no, I agree with you there. And I do believe, someone says I'm a liar, Miss Black. You are a liar, Miss Black. How can you say the previous government did nothing? Well, actually, you the liar, because I didn't say they did nothing. I didn't. All right. So I think that, listen, we have this conversation, like I said, it's very nuanced, right? It's very nuanced in how we approach this, because now we got to get ourselves together. Says give the Bahamians. Someone says give the Bahamians an F for not being responsible. But we're the same Bahamians in the last. Leadership has to know we're the same Bahamians in the last administration and last year. So you plan for what you got, and what you got is we're a country or people who ain't making no sense. I mean, we ain't making no sense. This gathering of 6,000 of us ain't making no sense. The levels of murders, we ain't making no sense. Someone says the children need to be tested once school reopens. Look, we need to do a lot more than just retest. I think we have ourselves a real national crisis on our hands when it comes to our education. So, boy, I don't know what we do, because this is for me a major concern with what we're dealing with here, and that's why I have questions to the Ministry of Health. What are you seeing, right? What are you seeing in this to explain what we're doing? And at this point, like I said, the economy has to happen, right? The economy has to open. It has to be open. What we saw, we can't have happen again. We can't have people standing on lines, and we still have folks needing assistance. What we can't have is what we had before, where we totally locked down and really impacted our finances. But we got to live with this thing. So I do suggest, if you haven't been vaccinated, I do suggest you go ahead and get your first 2 shots. I know where I stand with the boosting right now, right? I listen, by the way, if you want to take the risk with Omicron, then take the risk with Omicron. I think it is milder. Go ahead, just go crazy, run in a bush filled with millions of people and risk your life that way. I don't know what to tell you. But all I can say is we need to be more responsible, because the more numbers we get, then the CDC, then the travel, narratives will come, and all of this impacts us, right? And as more airlines shut down and lock down, that is impacting our dollar bill as well. So we have to be the people who say, no, we are going to take care of ourselves and each other. We're going to eat healthy. We're going to stay out of major, massive groups and these restaurants and all of these things that people want to die. I understand what we want to do. Pitch a tent, get some chairs, sit outside. Let your porch be your new location of excitement. But we have to now be those people that say, buddy, we're not going to get another, travel alert or advisory. And we need to get more data on how many people coming into the country have tested positive. But we don't test people when they come in country. So really, dog eat your lunch. How many fake PCR tests have we caught? Are we investigating? Are we being thorough? On vacation, I had a friend message me. She was coming in on Frontier Airlines. And she said the Frontier Airlines told her that as a Bahamian, she didn't need to show her PCR test. She could come right home after having taken her PCR test. And I sent that straight up to as high as I know how to make sure that thing ain't happening in real life, because every human who comes on a flight back into the Bahamas should be deemed healthy. I don't mind wealthy. And you sure as hell it'd be great to be wise, but healthy is important. The government has shown, okay, fine, that they will stop a ship that came in with positive cases. I like it. And someone says, we need to be responsible by doing what? By determining, where you're going to stay in terms of social distancing, outing, right? Be responsible. Your health is important. So, all right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to switch gears now because we are in a new year. Right? We are in a new year. And what is important for us in this new year is now a new focus and your health. We cannot live to see another year like 2021. We don't want another year like 2021. We want to be strong and healthy and vibrant as we chart a new course. And that's what matters to me most. We as a nation moving forward, upward, onward, and together, leaving no man or woman or child behind. That's what's important. And, these things matter. Someone says, when I came in from Arkansas, the airlines didn't ask for my test. Immigration at the airport asked for it. Very good. That's very good. Because the airline didn't want it at all. And I wasn't told anything about immigration at that point, but that's good. All right, so we got to take a quick break. When we come back, you're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. Joining me on the other side of it will be Shay King and Coach Jaquessa. We're talking about shifting our thinking on food, and that's important for this new year because I know we didn't mash up all the food in this holiday season. We'll be back after this. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM.
If you like a hearty, meaty burger, the A1 Steakhouse King at Burger King Nassau has it all. With flame-grilled beef, lots of bacon, cheese, and crispy onions on a sesame seed bun, the only thing that can top this is the tangy flavor of A1 steak sauce. The Steakhouse King is a meat lover's dream, and with an ice-cold Pepsi and hot fries, it's all you need to fill your day. Get your A1 Steakhouse King as a combo or part of the new King's Feast, only at Burger King Nassau, where taste is king.
When I got prostate cancer, my family didn't know if I was going to live at Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Within days, I got an appointment. They presented me with treatment options, and they set up a robotic prostatectomy. When my scans came back, there are no signs of cancer. They don't see you as a number. They see you as a part of the family. I'm going on with my life. That's a real gift.
Call us at Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
This is Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black.
And we're back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Before I bring my guests on, I have a question for you. Okay, so have you guys been following this big whole virtual Junkanoo parade and I guess the backlash? I didn't even get a chance to see the thing before they pulled it back down, right? So I won't lie to you, just the storytelling on it was hilarious to me. Because, buddy, we're having a debate on the quality of the production. I did not get to see it, but now it's actually news. When I saw, the first thing I saw was the notice, the statement from the Ministry of Youth, Sports, and Culture charting the cost, right? There's $300,000 budget. How much money went to certain groups, A and B, how much money went to the production, how much money went. It was just ridiculous. I'm like, oh, look at y'all, not knowing there was some controversy afoot. I just thought the Ministry of Youth, Sports, and Culture was just trying to show us that we're transparent, right? As if they're trying to like wash off something. I don't know, whatever it is. Anyways, then I find out there's a whole thing on this virtual Junkanoo parade. And apparently y'all didn't like it. And I was so moved by Bahamians. I love us, boy. Y'all didn't like it. Made the whole government take the thing back offline. And then in the news today, right before the 5 o'clock news hour, the ministry says that they're going to redo it. Y'all can't tell me that mob rule don't work. It was that bad. Someone please tell me how bad it was. So there's a whole argument. How much does $300,000 give you in production? Well, some are saying, well, there's only $25K actually paid to the production company. Who got time for all of that? My energy is low for all of this extra. There's some things. That's why this year has to be. We're going to watch, like I always said, we'll watch the government. We will watch them. But one of the main things that we have to do is take care of us. Things that work. And as we get to our guests, I always bring up this analogy. Nobody cares about the chair until it doesn't work. There's an expectation that the chair will always be a chair. The moment the chair fails to hold your weight, you question everything about sitting. Everything about the act of sitting. You will begin to inspect chairs. The moment one chair fails you, you waste time now on something over a period of time because one thing failed. We are using a lot of our intellectual, our emotional, physical, spiritual energy to watch our government because they continue to fail. But when it works, we don't care. This whole thing, someone made a whole conversation. Oh, it's only so many people that follow the prime minister, but look how many people follow Cindy Patrice Jackson. And my whole argument is, but she entertains. People who follow the prime minister want to follow the prime minister based on policy, and they're interested in that. But every day you want to be entertained. You want your marriage to make you happy. You want your friendships to give you great laughs. Who's go to a friend? Why do you go to a friend's dinner, your girlfriend's dinner or lunch? So to laugh or to cry and then laugh. But there's some expectations. So when something works, you don't pay attention. The chair is vital to your working and your doing business. But you don't respect the chair or pay attention to the chair until it fails. And that's what it is with governments. I don't believe that we should be wasting time watching them. And we have to now because they don't work. But I would rather be entertained by something else called my future, my plans, my focus, my family. And so we're going to focus on other things in 2022. Because one thing we learned about in 2020 and 21 is that time is of the essence. It waits for no man. And as quickly as you are here is as quickly as you are gone. And so we have to achieve our own goals, our own personal desires and endeavors. And so what I want to do now is bring on two very important women who are helping me chart my course for this year. And it is going to help both physically and mentally, because your gut biomes is very important to your joy, to your mental health, all of that good stuff. And so I'm welcoming back my good friend Shay King, and of course, DeQuesta Dean. Ladies, welcome to the Hit Back.
Hi, hola, hello.
How are you? All you two look great. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too.
Okay, can you guys see? You can see each other. We're good.
I can see Shay. I can see you.
Oh, why can't I see? I can't see anybody. I can't see.
Shay might be on the wrong tab, man. Shay got all of them tabs open now. She ain't no.
I know. Let me close these tabs. Off. But I'm good. Happy to be here.
Listen, ladies, thank you so much. Well, we started this. You, Shay, and DeQuesta, you two started something called the 21-day Raw Challenge, but it's actually, and I'm trying to remember the name because I just know. I remember 21 and I know 57. I know numbers. Tell us about this because you guys, we were on last in the holidays. We were. So tell us about this because this is now what I'm into. I'm doing this now. I'm doing this. I got to get my health on track, my head, my brain cleared, and you know, I'm trying something new. Mind over matter. Shay, tell us about what's going on.
So listening to your conversation, Nahaja, one of the things, the buzzword I heard was happiness and health. And even though we don't tie the connection together, one of the things that as a health coach that I'm always preaching is how happiness is tied into your overall health. You know, happiness actually, studies have shown that it actually lowers your risk for cardiovascular disease. It lowers your blood pressure. It also helps you to even sleep better. And it helps your diet to normalize. And every time you reduce your stress levels, you are putting yourself in a better place overall, like mentally as well as physically. And that's the premise behind 21 Days Raw Journey. It is a 57-day program. And you got the 57 right. And the reason for that is we just felt during this time with all of everything that has been happening that we just feel like people need a little bit more time to be able to harness all the tools, everything that we provide in this program to kind of give us a real jump start, and not just a jump start on eating, but we are catering to the whole person, you know, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and of course, looking at your nutrition as well. And we're glad that you jumped on as well. Coach DeQuesta and I are happy to be here. One of the things we talked about in the beginning was the mindset part of it. And we recognize that when people are eating better and they feel like they're just eating better because this is what they have to do, this is the new year, we wanted to put a spin on that and get people to start to really think differently about the connection between their food and how they really feel.
Yeah. DeQuesta?
Yeah, and what I love about the program, Nahaja, is that we have created such a safe space that people are asking questions. They are in there, they're asking for clarification, they're putting their issues in terms of health, what they don't eat, what could be substituted. So they're getting a lot of support. This is not one of those programs where you have to come and be involved in a rigid set of rules, but there's a lot of flexibility to help you as you adapt as well. People are loving the daily affirmations. I'm seeing a lot of comments about powerful, and I needed to hear that because the mindset is the first thing that we need to work on. So together with mindset and food, we're helping people to transition to another way of life. And I'm loving the community. Not only am I loving the community, girl, I am loving the food. I feel like a little hot dog right now. After eating my black eyed peas soup, amazing. So I'm loving that the food isn't bland. It isn't, you're forced to eat it. Like you really enjoy it. It's so tasty. Yeah.
And one of the things what I'm impressed with it, because you're right, the food is delicious. First of all, let's just be transparent here. I have a phobia of no meat. No meat is a phobia of mine. And I have to figure out now this whole raw life, right? I need therapy. Like, so that's why Coach Dean is important, right? The quest is important because I need therapy. And Shay, thank God for Shay. Shay'll be on the sideline. Okay, I didn't hear from you. What's going on?
Yes.
Yes,
It's coming at
it's
you
like
soon,
Paul
Coach.
Nahaja.
Yes, I told Shay yesterday, reach out to Nahaja. We got to make
Listen.
sure she is successful. But listen to this, Nahaja. I had a friend who joined the program, and she came over yesterday. She came to bring me some coconut, and I said, "Have you tried your cauliflower soup yet?" No, girl. I haven't. My mind closed to that. I don't know. I don't know. It looked like, and I'm like, girl, how you could decide you're not gonna eat something before you actually try it and taste it? So when she was here, I fixed my cauliflower soup, and this girl ate the bowl clean. Plus, she ate the Ezekiel bread, avocado toast, and was like, "Oh my gosh, that tastes so good." So having an open mindset to trying the food before you say that it's not gonna be good. I didn't expect the black eyed peas to taste as scrumptious as you don't even miss the meat.
Yeah.
You don't even miss the meat because of the seasoning. So
And
for
I'm
the
glad
person
you
out
said
there
that.
who is, shy about jumping into the program because they're thinking, oh, it's going to be hard. You taste the food.
Yeah.
It tastes like you eating meat. Serious.
You don't. So you mean to tell me I won't miss my pork chop?
No, you're not going to miss that pork chop, girl.
No,
Try that
no.
black eyed peas soup.
Let me tell you, the thing is, the question, I'm so glad you said that because I've had persons reach out to me and they was like, Shay, let me tell you, on this list, I don't eat this, I don't eat this, I don't eat this. But what I did with the recipe was I intentionally did what I always call just literally, when it comes to the box, Coach DeQuesta says, forget the box, don't even have a box in the first place. So what I did was I just came and I all of the recipes are like all of the traditional foods that we're accustomed to using, but not in the way that we use them. And just again, to broaden the mindset when it comes to food, because when we are used to just having avocado on bread, as far as we're concerned, that's the only way that we can eat avocado. And so now I have most of the people making an avocado mayo.
Hallelujah.
Listen to me.
Avocado what?
Mayo.
Listen,
Avocado
I haven't made it yet. I make it tonight.
But you're missing out. And so let me tell you, even when Coach DeQuesta said, Shay, you realize we don't have any salad on the first week? I said, yeah, intentional, because I know our people will. I is one of them. We can say all we eating is salad. So we started this week intentionally with scrumptious soup recipes and salad, and I'm sorry, not salad, and sandwiches. But of course, we're not using traditional flour bread. We're using sprouted bread. Now, out of all the members we had, I had one member call me up and say, Shay, that bread is horrible. So you know what I said? I looked at the bright side. I say, well, the glass is definitely half full, not half empty. And so everyone else enjoying the bread, they're enjoying the mayo, they're enjoying the soup. People are talking about the affirmations, they're enjoying the program. And why? Because these people decided to have an open mind about what they are accustomed to seeing in a traditional program.
Let's talk about that, right? We have Shay King, of course, nutritionist, leader in this field in the region, I would say in the world, with her technique, her system, and her spices, y'all. I didn't even know Shay had darn spices.
Ooh,
What? But we digress. We can hit that. Once I get my spice and I start spicing up my life, because Shay, you the bomb diggity. And then, of course, Coach DeQuesta Dean. And I just say, I think if we understand the process, because if you've been on any weight loss journey as much as I have, the skinniest I ever was when I was off to school, y'all. I'll tell you how it worked out was because Canadian food just don't taste good. It just don't taste good. So you just don't eat. You walk everywhere and you don't eat. It's like, I would rather just take a tour. I just go walk around and do the scenic paths. But who needs food? But the journey is always one that's highs and lows, and a lot of people go through these highs and lows of the weight loss journey. And I think the importance of a coach like DeQuesta is that she helps to tap into those mental hurdles, right? The mental hurdles of failures. And so you remember all of the failures of yesterday, or your fears, the things that you feel as if it's impossible. How do I not eat these 4 courses on Sunday that I'm used to? My 2 starches, my 1 sugar, and my protein, because the plantain got to be there for the sweet. But absolutely. So there is that mental part of the journey, right?
You know what? When you look at research, 80% of persons who make New Year's resolution, especially the wellness and the weight loss New Year's resolution, actually by within 1 year, they are no longer in that direction towards their New Year's
1 year, or you mean 1 month?
No,
1 month.
well, in that 80%, they give them a year. But in addition to that, within the first 3 weeks, 20% out of that 80% actually fall off what they call the wagon.
Yeah.
And so even though they make it and they do it every single year, but let me tell you, in addition to that research, studies have shown that there are two components that they find that when people actually adapt to these types of strategies, they are more likely, it says 50% of them are more likely to stay on their track. And one of them actually is a support, a coach, but not just a coach, but a coach that understands both components, the mental side, the emotional side, as well as the nutrition side. Because when you look at that wellness pie, 75% of that wellness pie is nutrition. So you have to now start to think that I have to do something with my taste buds. You can no longer eat pork chop and do all of these other things and keep the weight off. So you have to now, one of the things I can tell you is I was intentional about finding ways and becoming more creative to get people to eat more food, because our people, we love to eat, but we don't recognize that. Listen, y'all know this, 8 out of 10 Bahamians are sick, overweight, and diabetic, and that number includes children.
Yes.
10.
That's crazy.
Yeah. That's extremely crazy. And the thing is, I remember growing up when that number was 40%, then 50%. And over the last 10 years, it's 7 at 75, but you can't have a half a person. So you round it up. It's 80% of us that are sick and overweight. And so what are we going to do? Are we going to do the same thing that we've always done? And so we have to take a serious look at how we use food for fuel, because, if you look at the person on the streets, they're driving, either one or two things, either they fat or they angry. Which pick one?
You ain't lying. And what if you both?
They angry.
Yeah, I think too, Coach Shay and Nahaja, that we really need to get serious about looking at what's happening within our own family, within our own family lines, what the genetic makeup of us as individuals, but also the blueprint that's in our families, right? Nahaja, you said something so profound the other day, so obvious but yet profound, is that we go and we bury our loved ones, and when we leave the funeral, we go and we eat the same thing that killed them, the peas and rice and macaroni. So changing your lifestyle means that, one, you have to be able to be courageous enough to not worry about your friends, society, or your family. You have to be willing to stand up and say enough is enough, and I want to change this for me and for my family. So it starts in your own house first, right? Secondly, beyond being courageous, now is the mindset of, I need to be able to carve out time to prep and prepare in order to be successful. Because the success in this program is you getting in the kitchen and actually making these meals. And if you're rich enough to hire someone, or if you have someone on staff to prepare the meals and follow the recipes, that's your success. And having quick, easy food in the refrigerator that you can grab when you are hungry, because we go to the fast food places when we are starving and we don't want the inconvenience or the wait of having to prepare a meal. And what I love about the meals that we're enjoying now is they're like 15 minutes max to prepare. Right?
Yeah, that's big.
So we have to have the courage to stand up, to say enough is enough. We have to have the willingness to want to change the patterns in our families. And we have to understand that what we put into us will ultimately determine how we operate in life. If we're going to have mental clarity, if we're going to have inflammation, pain, if we're going to be full of mucus, if we're going to be lethargic, like what we eat will either fuel us or it will kill us. I mean, there's just no other way to put it.
Two ways about it. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, I want you ladies to tell us about some of the things that one should expect in this. You hit on some things just now, DeQuesta, and you as well, Shay, but DeQuesta just now saying, it either fuels us or it will kill us, right? So it's going to propel us or leave us, pull us down. And this is what's so interesting about food. I tell you, the only way I knew the only reason why I know I can do this is because I did a month with no sugar. That sounds perfectly impossible, but a month with no form of sugar or carbs, and so it took a lot of mental power. So I figured, I could do that. I can do this. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, I want to hear from you guys though on what are the benefits of this program that we're doing. What will people see, right? Because I don't know what I want. I hear you. I won't be. I really like the idea of being healthy. I won't be skinny too. We'll be back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. We'll be back right after this.
If you like a hearty, meaty burger, the A1 Steakhouse King at Burger King Nassau has it all. With flame-grilled beef, lots of bacon, cheese, and crispy onions on a sesame seed bun, the only thing that can top this is the tangy flavor of A1 steak sauce. The Steakhouse King is a meat lover's dream, and with an ice-cold Pepsi and hot fries, it's all you need to fill your day. Get your A1 Steakhouse King as a combo or part of the new King's Feast, only at Burger King Nassau, where taste is king.
When I got prostate cancer, my family didn't know if I was going to live at Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Within days, I got an appointment. They presented me with treatment options, and they set up a robotic prostatectomy. When my scans came back, there are no signs of cancer. They don't see you as a number, they see you as a part of the family. I'm going on with my life. That's a real gift.
Call us at Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black.
And we're back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Shay King, DeQuesta Dean joining us on the show. I saw you guys dancing to the Hit Back song. It's legitimately awesome. I saw y'all. Let's watch y'all. Y'all can't hide from me. All right, Shay, DeQuesta, we're talking about the program, the 57-day challenge, and starting with the 21 days raw, really changing and challenging us physically, mentally. I think it's a mental challenge first, physical benefits, but that is one where you overcome this mental hurdle. And I think once you do, you begin to believe that you can do anything when you start doing things like this and putting your body in subjection and saying, taste bud, you don't control me. You shall be trained, right? What are the benefits, ladies, of this program? Yes, I'm working on that. It shall be trained. This tongue shall get it together.
Child, let this body line up. Let me tell you, Nahaja, one of the things I was talking about before we went on the break was talking about our population, particularly here in the Bahamas, how 80% of us right now is considered fat, obese, overweight, and diabetic, and that number includes children. Now, one of the first benefits you're going to notice right away that it helps to promote blood sugar control, and it also reduces insulin resistance. And what that means is your body responds differently to the carbs that the body and the sugar that the body is receiving. And so when the body is responding, it's promoting that control. You have less of the, what I call the anxiety, the jitter, the wanting to kind of hit someone over the head if you haven't had some type of refined sugar, because we're still eating in this program, but we're eating more whole foods. We're eating our carbs through our vegetables. You tend to have a more stable blood sugar. So that's the first thing that I really like and a benefit. And that really speaks to us, particularly in this part of the world, because, you know, Bahamians, listen, if we're not diabetic, we are pre-diabetic. We're exposed in some way when it comes to that. And so you find that the sugar levels are controlled because you're eating foods that with all the fiber attached to it, because the goal is to get you to eat 50% of your food on your plate raw all the time. So that's the one benefit that I like more than anything else. Now, listen, half of the people on the bus, either they hawking, inflammation and mucus, OMG. Listen to me. Sometimes when I'm listening to people, I can hear the congestion. just in the conversation, I can look in their eyes and see we are a people that are congested. Why? Because we are consuming a lot of dairy, a lot of sugar. And because this is all plant-based, vegan, no dairy, no sugar. Of course, you know, your girl making some cheese up in this place.
No. We're making cheese?
Yes, we're making cheese. Yes, ma'am. We're making cheese, baby.
Okay. Are you talking my kind of talk? Now I need that cheese.
Yes. So the whole way that we're eating, it actually it promotes better health by fighting inflammation. And so that is one of the things that you're going to see decrease. Inflammation is also even associated with pain. And so sometimes when people can't put a name on it, they can just say, oh, my back is hurting, my body is hurting. You know, in most cases, it's inflammation from the mucus food. And so because we are eating strictly plant-based, we're making all of our vegan natural cheeses. And even in addition to persons that are vegetarian now, one of the things I say about our plan and program, what makes it really, really different is we are encouraging you to make a lot of this stuff at home. And so you can actually feel and see the difference of actually buying something store-bought. We don't even encourage you to buy juice in the store. We encourage you to juice it or blend it naturally. And so we're showing you how to juice and to blend the combination where you put the fiber back in. And so it helps, this program helps to reduce inflammation. Now, when it comes to triglyceride, which is your total cholesterol numbers, your blood pressure, I tell people, listen, I'm not a doctor, I'm a nutritionist, so I can't take you off your medication. But what I can tell you is you want to make sure you stay connected to your doctor, because if you are on high blood pressure medication, watch on this program as you continue to eat whole, live, raw food. You are going to have to go into your doctor and get those medication reduced, because food will transform the way you feel. And so eating whole food, I know people talk about, oh, we're just eating fruits and vegetables. No. We're allowing food to be our fuel, and we're allowing food to heal our body. And so when you look at the benefits is, when you're eating live and whole food, there are a lot of benefits. And in addition to that, this is the one that I really like. It actually helps to boost your brain function and your mood. Y'all know we are angry. Oh, listen. I'm so angry. That's all that refined sugar, man.
Yeah. And that brain fog literally lifts. Like you feel like you kind of like wondering what's happening because you have so much clarity, Nahaja. I also want to share that.
So I would be smarter?
Yeah, you're gonna be sharper. Seriously, it's gonna make you sharper. And important to note, Shay, is that we from a habitual standpoint, we're creatures of habit, right? Which means that John Maxwell says people do what they see. So when we tell our kids to do something, but we do something else, our kids are going to do what we do. So the beauty of this program now is demonstrating and showing them how they can now change their patterns and show their kids or show other people how to live healthy and eat healthy. We eat rice like you have a fan, Sunny NL Johnson on here ripping up the diet that we have here in the Bahamas. And the reason she can do that is because we have seen our parents and their parents, and they have seen their parents and their grandparents cook peas and rice, macaroni, potato salad, plantain, two meat, all in one meal. So because we see that, that's the habit that we picked up and continued in our family. So the mindset shift in this program is about helping you to see that you can eat scrumptiously, you benefit from a physiological standpoint, but you also benefit emotionally, mentally, physically, every which way. You benefit. And the plus, Nahaja, because I know you gotta go, but the plus is, yes, you think your skin pretty now. That's glowing, baby.
Really? You think it'll take 10 years off my life?
Oh, wait, might even make a baby.
No.
I leave it up to y'all over there.
You know, you speaking things that is not. You don't want them to be in awe, okay? No.
But I mean, the weight loss side is also, I always talk about the weight loss side often because that's the gravy. No joke. The weight it's just going to start to melt off. And you know what's going to really, 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 you're going to notice in your clothing, it's almost going to feel like your clothing feels like it's getting looser and looser and looser. because the body fat is just going to start to burn and burn because you're giving your body the food that it needs in order to do what it has to do. So weight loss is the gravy. Will you lose weight? Absolutely, honey.
All right, Shay King, the Quesadine. Let me ask you guys this. Someone asked a question. How do you join? Is it too late to join? I don't think it's too late. And the more the merrier in this group, Facebook and WhatsApp. And the Facebook group is man, listen, that's active. These two ain't playing with us. They gonna
Listen, it is lit, honey.
Okay, so tell us how do people join? I know I had a listener on Facebook reach out to me. How do people join?
You just go over to eatemotionallywell.com. You'll find a tab for the Raw 2.0 program. Click it, register, submit your payment, and you'll be in. It's as simple as that. You can call Shay at Shay. Give them your number.
Yeah, 801-4885.
Or
and press your number
424-6012.
That's it. And
Simple.
of course, it's not too late to register. The only thing is you got to catch up, honey. And you know, when we think about registering at this time, someone said to me, they called me earlier, Shay, so what? I still get to eat the food? I was laughing. I was like, of course you do. You still get the recipes. You get everything in advance. Listen, this program, the beauty about this program is we're giving you all of the tools you possibly can use. And you know what I'm enjoying more than anything else? I'm enjoying the feedback of what people are saying. They're pleasantly surprised about how good the food is.
Yeah. And with what is so important, and you again, don't forget, you can go to eatemotionallywell.com and go to the website. There you can join us, and let me make sure I can click on it. Now the 21-day raw, that's it right there, where you can go in and be a part of this great initiative that's really, listen, let's get our health on track, man. I'm just ready for us to get our lives on track. This is one thing that shouldn't be a part of our problem. It should be a part of our success story, is our physical well-being, and that we don't even meditate on it. I don't want to call it a diet. I want to call it a lifestyle change. And this is going to be one hell of a lifestyle change to move from meat to raw. Child, listen, I just try to get first lap is 21 days. Once I hit 21, I feel saved. And then if I get to 57, then I've been delivered. Hallelujah.
That's right there. Set free.
Shaka, no more beef calling me. Hallelujah.
Listen, you can do it, Natasha. You can do it. You'll be surprised how you will just not miss meat, because a lot of the recipes that I intentionally put together, I know our people. I know what we like. We sweet mode, we like fat, we like grease, we like fries. So the whole thing is I put together these recipes every single week to be able to help you look at this food and say, wait a minute, this looks like a taco. This look like, and a lot of my spices. Nahaja, listen to me. If you want your beans to taste like pork chop, honey, that's
hallelujah. All I can say is hallelujah.
Listen, you ain't gonna miss it.
Listen, we coming through. Shay, I like how your son just said like a.
I'm serious. That's slide by.
That's slide by. That's slide by. And Quessa, by the way, my son is also on the program. When I told him we were doing January as well as February, we're just doing all plant-based, he said to me, wait, mommy, all plant? And I was like, yeah, we can do that. And I asked him, he said to me, when are we going to be finished? I said, March. He said, okay, I can do it. Yeah. So he's in.
All right. Well, listen, but if I had a mommy who was doing all the cooking, I'd have been in easy too. But Shay, DeQuesta, thank you, ladies, so much. And again, don't forget, go to eatemotionallywell.com. Looking forward to the journey, ladies. Thank you so much.
Yes.
All right. Well, ladies and gents, this is one of those things. This is my New Year goal and initiative. So let's go on. We're changing our lifestyle, man, for the better. Long life, health, prosperity, and wellness. That's the position we want to be in, as we expect for 2022 to be far better and greater than any years previous, that we anticipate and expect for this to be the year of our jubilee, for it to be the year of our release, our relief, our reform. This is that kind of season that we're living in. I'm expecting bigger and better things, and I hope you are too. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM. See you guys tomorrow. We're out.
This is Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
Urging hospital beds available, but surgeons, they are in limited supply. Good evening. I'm Tashina Robinson, your Guardian Network News at 6. starts now. Thanks for tuning in. The new Omicron variant might not be as deadly as its predecessors, but patient numbers in hospital continue to climb. Although spacing is no longer as big of a problem, staffing is, with the number of healthcare workers in the capital and the nation's second city out of commission. Kyle Joaquin reports.
Well, the government is doing all that we can do with this situation.
With 55 COVID-positive people in Princess Margaret Hospital alone, the past week has seen a drastic increase in hospitalizations. During the Christmas holiday weekend, it was in the teens. And now, with hundreds of cases being confirmed daily, Darwell said the situation is challenging.
It is a challenge. We will definitely be untrue to say it's not a challenge. And what we're experiencing, every country around the globe is experiencing these amount of cases because the virus is so transmissible and very infectious. And as a result of public gatherings in private places, everyone is susceptible. Even where we are right now in close proximity, we are susceptible, even with utilizing the proper protocols.
Darwell said after a number of large gatherings over the holiday weekend, numbers are much higher, creating this concern for health officials.
Testing. What is concerning us is the percentage of testing is proving to be higher than we anticipate, which is an indication that the disease burden is relatively high in the country. And we are now preparing ourselves to ensure that we have adequate healthcare protocols in place so that if there is a surge that possibly could take place with hospital admissions, we are in a better position to deal with it.
Between Thursday and Sunday, 1,535 cases were confirmed. According to Darwell, the free testing pilot program for New Providence began Tuesday morning at vaccination sites. In addition, government has begun giving out free masks. But with over 100 healthcare workers on New Providence in isolation or quarantine and over 30 on Grand Bahama, there is also a manpower concern in the public healthcare system.
At our legacy unit, we have admissions and we're opening up more of the tents. But I must admit that due to the exposure of some of our staff members, some of the essential services had to be cut back. And even though we have sufficient bed space, we are now restructuring to ensure that we find the staff where individuals who will be admitted will be able to go in those particular wards.
Darwell said an additional 50 nurses are being brought into the country, in addition to physicians being brought on. But while government does its part, the health minister says the Bahamian public must understand its role.
Very important that the Bahamian people realize that they have a part to play. We must execute the proper protocols and ensure that we wear our masks when we're in public places and we are able to go from place to place, minimizing our contact with individuals.
The most contagious strain of the coronavirus, Omicron, is sidelining patients and top healthcare workers alike, including leading physicians. According to former Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands, it's had a domino effect for those requiring emergency surgery. Jasmine Brown has that angle.
The former health minister's comments came just hours after Minister of Health and Wellness Dr. Michael Darwell told reporters outside Cabinet that more than 130 healthcare workers on New Providence and Grand Bahama are currently out of the system due to COVID exposure.
Response of our system depends on having competent, capable healthcare workers available. Some of them have retired, some of them have resigned. Some have even died. When you have 130 healthcare workers unavailable to respond to whatever surge that shows up at the emergency rooms and at the clinics, it means that you don't have the same capacity that you did a month ago, 6 months ago, and you are trying to fight COVID with one hand tied behind your back.
Sands, who recently tested positive for COVID-19 and is in isolation, says there should be no doubt that the healthcare system is already strained.
If you happen to get shot today, you got a problem because you got several senior surgeons out. Okay? Today ain't the day to get shot. That's how real this is.
He also noted that it is dangerous to assume that the uptick in cases is being driven by Omicron alone, and said the Delta variant, which might cause more severe illness, could also be contributing to the high case numbers. The Delta variant largely drove the third wave of infections in the Bahamas, which was the deadliest so far. Hundreds of Bahamians lost their lives as hospitals struggled to stay afloat under the pressure of the surge of severe cases. Sands said it still is too early to know whether the country could face the scenario again sometime soon.
The statement that, okay, caseloads are high, but hospitalizations are low, we don't know that, because there's typically a lag between cases and hospitalizations and between hospitalizations. So let us hope and pray that this is entirely a surge of Omicron. And again, the assumption that all of these cases are Omicron is an assumption that we have no basis, no factual information to make that determination.
The Bahamas has confirmed record numbers of new COVID cases in the past 2 weeks. Nearly 2,000 cases were confirmed in the last week, with 520 recorded on December 30th alone.
I think all of us are frightened at the startling numbers that we see. And if you imagine 500 plus cases in a day confirmed, and understanding that that is not the absolute total number of cases. Very few of us know anybody who hasn't been impacted by this, or families who have been impacted. And so it's a frightening time for many Bahamians.
Reporting for Guardian News Network, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Some